So hi, when we go on this podcast, I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with.
I'm Kurt.
And I'm Eliza, and we're Eliza and the Delusionals.
And we're going to have some questions.
We're 2/3 of Eliza and the Delusionals.
Yeah. And we're going to have some questions to say about their upcoming album, Make It Feel Like the Garden. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you guys feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Yeah. Super excited. Like, it's one of those things that we've had it for so long. So it's like, to us, it's just like, fuck, is it out? Yeah.
It's kind of old news in a way.
Yeah, really. But we're super excited for everyone else to hear it, because I think we kind of sometimes you forget that no one else has heard it yet. So yeah, for us, as I said, it's been like the whole process takes so long. So I guess, from start to finish for us, it's been like 2 years or whatever. So for it to actually come out this Friday doesn't feel real, I guess.
It'll probably feel different when people are actually like
listening to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Better late than never. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
The album is awesome. It's quite the experience. It's very long. Don't get me wrong, but it's an experience.
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad you think that. I'm so glad you think that.
That was we kind of just said like fuck it a little bit with the like little like bits and pieces in between. We were just like, you know what?
We just wanted to make something like 100% what we wanted to listen to.
And I think as well, like music, especially with like TikTok and stuff, music is like so designed to be like a 2-minute song.
Short
and we kind
fast,
of were just like, whatever, let's just make like whatever the song feels like it needs to be, let's just make it
just do that.
Yeah.
Now, right.
You guys mentioned you've been sitting on this one for a while, working on it for a while. Can we get some bookends, like the start and the end of the process?
I would honestly say when we released our first record, we were writing this record maybe a month after. Like, just when I say writing, voice memos and just like ideas, starting to just get little bits and pieces together. And then I would say heavily started writing it properly and going through those voice memos and like pulling out things and piecing things together. 2020, late 2022.
Yeah, when we were on
was it? No, 22.
22, when we were on tour with
the Silver
Something Ups in the US last time. We kind of had some time off between those, like there was like a few breaks between the runs of shows. So that was kind of when we were staying with some friends in Napa, and we kind of like made a little like studio in their basement and kind of just like we like said, all right, we got 2 weeks here, like let's just bunker down and do as many demos as we can and write stuff. And then after that, sort of like just before Christmas when we got back from the US, we went down to our producer Oscar's studio and then kind of like wrote some more.
So that was like December. And then in January of 23, right? No, February of 23, we sort of started actually recording stuff and getting parts down. And so it has been done for a little while.
Gotcha. So the last time we chatted was December 2022, which means you guys were deep in the writing process at that point, and we were chatting about the last record.
Yeah, for sure. We were dead set, like we had full songs writing and demoing and pre-production sort of stuff, and it was happening.
And I think most of those songs made it onto the record too. Like we kind of just like
we did. Like for the first record, we wrote a bunch of songs and then like picked out of them and like spread ourselves very thin. For this one, we literally just wrote what we enjoyed, and we didn't spend time on anything that we didn't like from the start. It was just like here are the songs, and maybe I think there was 2 songs that didn't make the record
because it was already kind of like long enough. So
and we just didn't feel like they fit. So
exactly.
Fair enough.
It's fair. Awesome. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
That was the first thing like that came sort of to mind. Like Make It Feel Like the Garden was a phrase that we had we come up with when we were just in our living room, and we really like the idea of having a concept of not like a full concept album, but just like an idea of something to go to or something to come back to even when writing. So Make It Feel Like the Garden was the idea of, creating this space, or like what you see on the cover art of that, garden utopia sort of thing that we could always go to, like, or a space you could leave and go listen to the record. Like everyone has their own version of a garden, so we sort of wanted to make that for listeners and for ourselves even, and just, have a place you can go listen to the interstellar of records that happens to go for 3.5 hours and, come back whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Love that.
The cover art is gorgeous, by the way. I do just want to say that. It's fucking beautiful.
I
Thank
love it
you.
as
Thank
well.
you very
And
much.
you know, it actually was Kurt put it all together, and then we also worked with one of our friends from
Yeah,
Brisbane.
Tom Carroll.
Yeah,
He's like a 3D artist, and he like rendered the whole 3D space.
yeah.
He's unbelievable.
And you guys will see more of that in the next music video. I don't know when this is coming out, but the next music video, there's like more of us in that garden world. So
There is.
it's so sick, in our opinion.
That sounds fucking awesome.
That's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So can you guys tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
Yeah, I think like we sort of just at first, like Kurt and I sort of get in and just like have ideas and sort of just bring things to the table. And like Kurt does a lot of like Kurt's actually a guitar player compared to me. So like a lot of his like stuff, like he'll like have these nice chords, and then we sort of like work on melodies together and like lyrics and stuff. And yeah, it like what you said, I feel like we work really well when we have like an idea to come back to and like to relate things to, which was like that whole garden concept. And it's so broad in different ways, like you can bring it into so many things.
Yeah.
So that we kind of start with that and like just have our iPhone and just like voice notes and things. Like we'll have like a 10-minute long voice note of us like just trying to like nut out something,
Yeah, just
maybe
having a mental break,
maybe a bit of arguing in between. And then like when it came into the actual studio, which I feel like that was a really fun and like different process for us. So it was kind of like all over the place in a good way. Like kind of just Oscar was kind of like, everyone's got like an instrument and a mic, and we're just gonna like vibe this part and like just sing what you think or like play what you think. And then we kind of like will take that and take what we love about it and flesh it out into the song.
Yeah.
So like some of the songs, even lately, for example, that my vocal in that was like the scratch take. Like literally just like when we wrote the song, and we were just like, this is just the sound for this. And
there wasn't a heap of like going back and we're gonna perfect this sound. It's just we like that for a reason, so we'll just use that. Yeah, and like lots of parts from the demos that we did. Yeah, just everything got used. When I say before, like we came in and started actually putting parts down, it was more so just like drums. Like we got drums down and then adding layers of guitars or synths or samples or like whatever. It was kind of like built like the demo was the skeleton. Which we hadn't really done it that way before. Like the demo was more like a reference. But that's what we loved about Oscar's style. And like he was always kind of like, you know, for example, when we were writing Madison, I remember he was kind of like we had this idea. Madison was like such a different thing. And then he's like, I just think it can be better. And like it's so hard not to like take offense in the moment when someone says that. But then on reflection, we're like, it actually came out so much better. So it's nice to have someone who's like not afraid to be like, this can be better, guys. Do you know what I mean? And he's so funny as well. Like we would just be like halfway through the process and it didn't feel like anything was happening. And we would ask him, we'd be like, are we gonna get like a record finish? And he would just be like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. And we're just like, sick, no, it's fucking mad. I guess we'll just not do a record. That's great. And I think as well, the thing we loved about that process is the studio is like a separate dwelling from his home. So it was like very like we'd like be in the studio, we'd go play golf in the morning, go get like a little coffee and go to the bakery, and then come and actually do like a solid like 6 hours of music, and then Kurt would like cook a roast dinner. And like it didn't feel like we were in a studio. So like we're in a house, in our friend's house. And then when it had an idea, we'd just go into the studio and put it down and then go back to cooking or something, which is like the perfect vibe for us. It works for us really well. We like feel like when we don't have like we need to get this vocal take now and it needs to be great, like we kind of just get a bit of red light fever in that way. So that worked really well for us. That was the long answer to your question.
No, it was perfect
appreciate
answer.
That. So I guess like for future, you know, records, when we're thinking about the next one, if you guys even are, is the plan to continue like using the demo like for parts instead of just as a reference? Like did you guys enjoy that part of the process, or do you prefer just like having the reference and then putting it down like in the studio? I think honestly it'll just keep like evolving.
and I'm not sure what that is.
It'll
yet.
just
like
depend.
it just and I think the more this goes on, like Eliza and the Delusionals, the less, and I say this in a good way, like the less we give a fuck about how perfect things need to be. Like really though, it's like when you first start a band, it's like this has to be perfect, and it's like you fuss over everything, and nothing is perfect. So like there's literally no point. You just get stressed and you get overwhelmed in situations, and it's like I feel like with this record, it was more relaxed and just like it's just gonna happen. Like whatever happens is what it's meant to be, sort of thing. So I think it'll just be more of that.
And it's a good mantra to have, I think, as well, because you know, music and the music industry can be so like intense sometimes, and you can sort of put a lot of pressure on yourself. And I feel like you kind of have to think about the music aspect in that way, because that's supposed to be like the fun part.
Yeah, so just take yourself out of it a little bit. Yeah, just do whatever happens, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now it's funny that, like you say, the longer the band goes on, like in the nicest way possible, like we give less of a fuck, and it's just kind of like what happens, because you know this record we're talking about right now is the sophomore record, and there's a lot on, you know, a band with a sophomore record. So like, did you guys feel that pressure going into it, like, oh fuck, it's the sophomore record, or was it just like, ah man, like things are good?
Yeah. No, honestly, not even a little bit. We felt that more with the first record.
Oh wow,
we felt that more with the first record, because it was like we need a record, we need to write an album, and like the state of the world at that period of time was wild. So everything felt stressful, everything felt forced, everything felt like, not that we're not proud of that album, but this album in particular is just like, this is like our favorite culmination of everything we could have ever done.
It feels like
a record. Like, I actually enjoy the record. I could put it on and go, and it takes me to moments in time and stuff, and it's like, oh, this is that, or that's this, or whatever, and I can relate to it, which I feel like is you need to do as an artist. Like, it's like, if you're not relating to your own record, how do you really expect anyone else to relate to it at all, you know?
Yeah. So, and I think that like just on what you were saying as well, is like we actually just loved the songs, and I think that was a big difference of like, not that we didn't love the songs on the first one, but it was kind of like, I feel like all three of us were like, we just love these songs. And I feel like
the mindset as well, right? Like we were talking about, we just gave less fuck.
And I think as well, like, because we sort of like Just Exist wasn't a part of our first album, I feel like we might have had that, like thinking about it now, like on reflection, we might have had that second album pressure writing our first one, and then now we're kind of just like, this is just what we want, like we're writing music that we want and that we love. So I've sort of just had that realization that I feel like that might have been why we were so stressed about it, and now we're just kind of like just writing things that we love. And
I think we've just gotten older and like matured more as like artists and writers and stuff like that, so I think it just happens, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. And I think that there's a unique, there's pressure obviously with every single release, but it's like those first couple of records in a band's career are so pivotal and so important. So it's like, it makes sense that there was pressure with that one, and maybe you felt what would have been the first album pressure with releases prior to that. So it all makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Okay. So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is each of your own personal favorite?
I'm just trying to think. I know that there's always one song that is like just takes.
I'm trying to think.
It's Another You. It's got to be Another You.
Oh, Another You would be the longest.
That one definitely, like, we started writing that in Napa, and I think Kurt and I both had different directions for it, and we loved, like, the chorus was the first thing that Kurt had written. He like sung that to me, and like the lyrics, I was just like, this is just so good. Like, I love this. And then when I started like putting like what I thought was the right thing on, it just kind of was like, Kurt's like, I don't know if I'm vibing with that. And then I was like, well, I don't know if I'm vibing with your other idea. And like, I just feel like it kind of was like a mess. And then we kind of were like, let's just leave it, because we knew we were going to go and like work with Oscar as well. And he's a great songwriter, and like we wrote a couple of the songs with him. And then I remember we got into the studio and we're like, look, this is what we want it to sort of be. This is like the end goal for the song. I think with this one, we just like can't. We're sort of having a hard time getting it there. Which
I feel like that was the only one that was like, we knew we loved it, but we weren't sure how to get
it to where it was. So having that fresh opinion and having like someone else come into that equation like really like revived it. I feel, and we were like, we love that song now. Like we're stoked. It came out exactly how we wanted it.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
And I think in terms of my favorite song on the record, I think is Madison. Like the last song on the record. So I don't know, something about it just always hits for me.
Yeah,
and,
I'd say that's a collective favorite. Ruby loves that one as well, and I think like if I was to pick one besides that, probably Everything That Isn't Mine is one of my favorites as well, and that was one that sort of like came very last minute in the studio.
Yeah,
which is something we'd never done. We'd never like just written a song in the studio when we've had other songs demoed. Like it just kind of happened, and then I just feel like the lyrics are really like something that I can relate to like in day-to-day life a lot of the time. Like so yeah, that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, good choice.
Hell yeah. How like just spitting it out there, like how does a song like that come out of, you know, just in the studio, when we kind of established at the beginning of the interview that it was like we already have more than enough songs, so like how does something come out of, you know, the studio experience when there is so many demoed already?
Because it was so like open and such a free space to just do whatever in. Like there was lots of time. Like people I think have this idea, it obviously is quite time intensive being in a studio.
You are definitely
writing a record, you're on schedule and doing stuff, like for sure. But at the same time, it wasn't like at 10 a.m. we're doing guitars, and then at 1 p.m. we're doing bass guitar, and then like it wasn't that. So we had time to just be, and I don't know, being in a new environment as well for us, like outside of our home, like area, we just like you get inspired. And I think because we were hearing the whole record come to life in front of us, like it was literally so real time that we were like, I think that was inspiring for me. And I was just able to pick up the guitar, and I wrote like the first verse of that song just on like an acoustic guitar. And then we were just like, we should take the next hour and just work on this, because I think this is something cool.
Yeah.
And then that song, like Oscar is like unreal in the studio. He's super collaborative. So he was just like, yeah, jump on like Pro Tools and just like start moving some stuff around. And he's definitely one of those people that you don't feel like, oh, like, do you mind if I could just like do this quickly? He's just like, yeah, fuck, just do whatever you want, sort of thing. So I was able to jump in and have a little go and like move some stuff around, and then he would come back in, and it was super collaborative like that. And I think that's what sort of was able to come from that sort of environment. That sort of song definitely wouldn't be able to come, and if you're in like a traditional studio environment, I don't think, because there would just be no time.
Exactly.
So,
and also,
we're pretty lucky we were gifted with so much, you know, I guess faux time.
Yeah.
You know,
and that was him with like what I was going to add is like, yeah, that's just Oscar's personality as well, of like being open to that, because some producers are kind of like some producers like obviously love the music, but it's, you know, it is work for them as well at the end of the day and stuff. So it's like the fact that Oscar is kind of just like and really he's sort of part of it for the music. Like,
and he's unfazed with that schedule. Like there is a schedule. It's like I was talking before. It's like, are we gonna get a record done? I hope so.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. So we it's heaps of trust the process, and and that was another one where we kind of like, we've never really done like band in a room recording. It's always kind of just been like, you know,
pieces
but this was probably as close as it would get, because like I would have like a mic, and then you know, you guys would have instruments, and we kind of just like do like, because it's all about the feeling as well. Like you kind of have to play it and feel it and be like, that might sound cool on its own, but like when it's like there in the room, like with a track, like,
just guitar, idea, vocal, pad, drums, and then the whole thing was just there.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opening be the opener, closer be a closer, shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
I think we did like sort of curate it in a way, but I think like Coming to an End, like the opening track was written to be an opening track. Like that was made like fairly early on. Like that was meant to be an intro, and the whole idea of that was to be like, here's a minute and a half of like checking into the garden, if you will. So I was like, listen to this, and you get into the get into the zone, if you will.
Yeah.
And then
like the walking through the flowers and whatever else to get
entering
there.
the garden sort of thing. Yeah.
And I think as well, like we've
Yeah.
never, I don't know if any artist ever writes like, and maybe they do, and that's cool if they do, but we've never written like a track to be like, okay, we need to write like a closing track. Like I
No.
think at first when we wrote the song Make It Feel Like the Garden, we were like, this would be really cool to like end the album on this because it's like got the big ending. And then when we heard everything, we're like, I kind of feel like it needs to be the opening track. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like
Yeah.
the right thing to do. So it kind of just comes down to seeing everything when it's done and
Yeah.
then just being like, where, like listening to it in order and being like, do these emotions feel right? Is this like the right up and down that we want for the record? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like the record track listing did get sort of pieced together while we were in the studio, but there was definitely no preconceived idea of what they were going to
Yeah.
be.
Gotcha. So
Hmm.
at what point in the process did like the interludes come about, since like, you know, you're kind of piecing together the track list as you go and like don't really have the idea, like the clear vision for it going into the recording. So when did that come about?
Well, it's funny because it was so open and free and just there was so much going on, a lot of the songs actually just had really long intros. So like we swear like it was just super long because we would just be in the room and record would be happening.
Yeah.
So things would just get laid and put on top of each other. Then all of a sudden here you have a
A 6-minute song.
6-minute song
Okay.
because the intro goes for 2.5 minutes or whatever. So we honestly took our favorite bits of that pretty much and just we thought, well, it feels weird without it now. You know when you listen to something for like too long
Mhm.
and now you can't unhear that?
Yeah.
So for us, it was a bit like that. It was some of the tracks had like, here's a dedicated intro, but 90% of the tracks that have interludes and stuff preceding them were just intros of that track.
And then
sort
we
of thing.
kind of had to like make them their own thing because again, we didn't want like 6-minute songs, and then we were kind of like, let's just have them as their own thing that like blends into them. And
and we thought it was cool to have like such a long track list, but a lot of them are interludes, and I don't know, it's cool to just be able to jump back and forward between things and stuff as well. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Sure. Hell yeah. Would you guys be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
just crazy, mentally did not know where it. No, honestly, it was a bit like that at the start because it was like I feel like this is not going to happen. It's not going to get done for the first maybe week and a half, 2 weeks, and it was like this is insane. And then we just relaxed into it, and we're like, okay, no, this is
we took on
the vibe. We took on
vibe.
Oscar's mantra of just
we'll see. And we just trust the process. But I also was going to say, like, that's a hard question for me to answer because it was like so long ago now.
Yeah.
It was kind of
I
just
just remember that first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Of us
like
being stressed, going
literally. And then
taking that first record, right? Like that stressed, oh my God, this is not going to work. What's going to happen? We got to make everything perfect. And then being around Oscar, we were just like, oh, well, I guess
we'll just roll
figure
with
it out.
it.
We'll roll
And
that.
I feel like we've taken that on board ever since, really.
Yeah, honestly. And it's been the best thing ever for us because it's so much more freeing and like you
just have to focus on the things that you
Yeah.
can control and like things that like we enjoy doing, and then everything else is just like it'll work itself out.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Keep the positive vibes flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Someone
has to.
Yeah.
So.
True.
Not always easy, but you know, we
Yeah.
try.
See that whale out there? We're also sitting on this headland near where we live right now. And there's a beach and it's whale season.
We
so
have-
there's like
yeah.
massive whales.
It's
I'm
really
so
cool.
jealous.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And-
You
Do you
guys
wanna
watching
see?
whales?
Yes,
I would
please.
actually, yes, I would love to see.
If
There
I
we
did
go.
all my interviews watching whales,
I don't know
That's-
if you can see how far. I don't know. It's like
I
they
think
all.
the whale's gone.
It's gone.
God damn
no.
it.
well, that's
And
still
heard I was
quite the view.
excited, and it's just no, it's a great
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Don't
I-
worry.
Well, because where we live, we have really, really bad reception, so we kind of like come up here
To this
'cause it's
headland.
like just easier. That's
Yeah.
why we're in the car as
Yeah.
well. So
That's okay. I mean, I've been mesmerized by the view through your windows because it kind of looks like you guys are up in the sky because
It
it's
does.
just like it's beautiful,
It's
perfect,
blue.
perfect
Yeah.
blue sky.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the water is absolutely turning
I
on
have
today.
to
The weather is
say,
beautiful.
Australia has the best winters because it's like weather like this, but it's like
Yeah.
10 degrees.
It's crispy.
Yeah.
It's lovely, and there's
Yeah.
whales. So
Nice.
I mean, who can complain?
I'm
right?
jealous of where you guys are
Right.
sitting. This room is hot as hell, and I've been in it all day. So, you
Yes.
know, not watching whales.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So, how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? If you're doing the car with friends and dark with headphones on, is workout album, party album? What do you guys personally recommend?
I think that you should listen to the record however you want.
However
but
you like to consume.
at the same time, if I was to listen to it, I would listen to it probably just at home, just vibing at home.
I listen to a lot of my albums like on a long. If I'm driving for like
Yeah,
an
long
hour,
drive.
then I'm like, I can listen to this undisturbed and actually make an opinion on it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'd say that that's how I would want to listen to something that also has a lot of like, you know, different things going on. But
Yeah.
you know, I just like I would like people to listen to the entire thing.
That's what I was.
You know
gonna
what I
say.
mean?
Top
And
to bottom.
not
top-
just like
yeah.
skip through little bits and pieces. Like just it's a record. Listen
Give
to
yourself
it. You
the
can,
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we can
Exactly.
keep our attention spans for one album, I think. So yeah.
Damn right.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. So this one should be super, super quick off top of your heads. I want you guys to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. 3 words each, 6 total, no more, no less.
Garden, sexy flowers.
All
That
right,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
that was giving like stupid sexy Flanders.
Yeah, it's probably what was in my head.
I would say euphoric, nostalgic, and cool.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome
Hell
stuff.
yeah.
Hell yeah, love
Perfect.
it. And then that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
I think the goal is to like be able to like escape from your reality and like be like a lot of these like the garden is supposed to be like a memory or a feeling that makes you like
For you.
that makes you feel like happy, I suppose.
Yeah. So like whatever you want it to be. It
Yeah.
really is that. Like
Yeah.
that was the whole idea of the garden. It's like
Yeah.
you are checking into your own version of whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right. So are you guys able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments during the creation of this album, positive or negative?
All of the roast dinners that we had
That was
were
a positive.
lovely. That was an
Positive?
absolute
Okay, good.
Yeah. unbelievable.
That
All
was
the
a lot
golf
of-
we played.
Yeah, that was a lot of positive. I think the only negatives is like
That
When
first 2
you-
weeks.
the first 2 weeks, and also like when you're writing, it could also just be me, but like when you're writing with someone, like it's not always just like you write a song and that's it. Like there's a lot of emotions involved, and like sometimes you can, because it's your ideas, and like songwriting is like such a vulnerable thing. It's like actually thing I feel like you have to like learn to do with another person, and to like be comfortable and be like vulnerable and just like think like say what you're thinking in your mind for lyrics and things like that, and like kind of just put and like be open to people being like, I don't love that idea,
Yeah.
which sometimes can be hard, and like that's really a big challenge, and like I get quite like overwhelmed by that sometimes. But like you just need to remember to like I always just try and remember to like take a step back and think of the song
Yeah.
and not take offense. But sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge for sure. Wouldn't say it's negative, but it's like that's definitely like when it comes to writing, it's like
You have to leave it at the door a little bit.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
Fair.
And for the last couple questions, going to shift completely away from music. So, if you could be one animal for the rest of your life, what animal would you be and why?
A whale.
I was going to say the
Yeah.
exact same thing.
Damn right.
Because
Vibing.
that looks like a good time.
Or one of those like chihuahuas that gets really looked after.
Yeah, in like a little tea
Oh,
bag.
Yeah.
sort of
love
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
Damn
pretty
right.
nice.
Gee, they're cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you could have lunch with any celebrity or artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Well, maybe a chef, a celebrity
Yeah,
chef,
that
because
would
you have
that'd
lunch.
probably be good.
Maybe Gordon
Yeah, I was
Ramsay.
about to say Gordon Ramsay.
Dude,
Maybe
he's so
Gordon.
fucking cool. I love him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Maybe
It's
Gordon.
so like Hell's Kitchen is just my YouTube.
Boy,
algorithm.
honestly, hey, I
Yeah, same.
watch so much
Yeah.
kitchen nightmares and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
so good.
It's so
Mhm.
funny.
Yeah, those 3-hour videos of just kitchen nightmares. I'm the
Oh.
one
The best.
keeping those. Yeah.
They're
yes.
Same.
amazing, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Genuine, and I actually find because I love to cook, So I'll find myself like with headphones on, cooking with my phone up, just like watching Kitchen Nightmares. I just
Yeah.
don't know why. It's just so
Just
it's like therapeutic.
literally
Yeah.
Gordon
Unbelievable.
Ramsay yelling, "Where's the lamb?
Where's the lens?
Like,
It's like blowing up.
Fucking love
it's
them.
so,
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
funny.
okay.
Mhm.
And for this last question, boom, you're on a desert island. You can bring one movie, one album, and one person. Who and what are you guys bringing?
One movie. I actually will bring Interstellar because that's a great movie. What movie are you gonna bring?
I'm gonna bring Spirited Away. That's my favorite movie.
One album.
I'm gonna bring After Laughter by
Oh,
Paramore.
this is
Ooh,
tough.
good
That's
pick.
my comfort album.
I don't know. I have no idea. Our album. Our album.
Our album.
Bring
Love
our
that.
record.
Nice.
And what was the other part of the
Person.
question? A person. We'll bring a line.
Yeah, I'll bring Kurt.
All right.
Aw.
Hell yeah.
If
We'll
you-
always have each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If all else fails.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Fuck yeah.
So as I said, that's all the questions I have today. Is there anything that you guys like to plug?
We're going into with the front bottoms in October
Nice.
across the
Nice.
US of A, which will be
It'll be
absolutely glorious.
mainly the Midwest area. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're super excited.
We're
We
so
toured with
excited.
them in Australia and had like the best time. So we're like
Yeah, genuinely.
very excited to come back to the US.
Yeah.
And then obviously stream Make It Feel Like the Garden. It's a great album. I
Yeah.
think everyone's gonna love it.
As
So,
many times as your heart desires, but
Yeah.
heaps, please. Stream it so much.
Yes.
Oh,
For the
yeah.
love of God, please.
Mhm, please.
All right. Well,
please
thank
don't
please,
make it.
please. Well, thank you for listening. This guy's been Eliza and Kurt from Eliza and the Delusionals, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.